everybody. Nice that you're joining today. This is the first time we are going to record the chat. We're already recording, but if we are sharing this, we will leave out the beginning and the end. So you can ask questions for the whole chat through. I mean, if you have a question, just raise your hand or just unmute and ask a question. If you don't want to be in the recording, then you will have to wait till the end if you want to ask any questions. I'll be chatting to Enda Seery, and he'll be playing a few tunes, and then in the end, he will play a few sets of tunes where we can hopefully join him and play along to him. Nobody can hear you when you play along. You'll be muted, so. Let's start today's third online flute meet for the Facebook group, the Irish flute players. Today we'd like to welcome Enda Seery. It's really great that you join us today for a chat.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here.
Good. As I said, people can ask questions whenever they want to, and you're a flute player from Ireland, County Westmeath.
That's right. And I just first of all like to say thank you very much, Matty, to yourself for the Irish flute players page has been brilliant. It's such a good resource. Michael, thank you very much for setting all this up as well. I'm pretty okay with technology. I probably during COVID, I had to do a good bit of teaching and stuff online, so I got a little bit used to it, but I'm still learning as well. But I'm based here in County Westmeath in Ireland. So I am right in the heart of Ireland in the Midlands. I'm about I suppose an hour and 15-20 minutes from the main city in Dublin. But very much in the countryside here in a beautiful little village called Streamstown. We're very proud of our little village here in Streamstown, and it's we get all types of weather here in Ireland. We had frost and ice and a little bit of snow during the week. We had a storm last night, and today it's quite mild and warm. So we get all sorts
here. I looked it up on Google Maps, and it is exactly sort of right in the centre of Ireland. Which
Sure is.
Can you tell me a bit about your flute journey? When have you started? I read that you're from quite a musical family.
I am. So I have 4 siblings, 3 brothers, 1 sister. I'm the youngest, so I'm probably still a bit spoiled, even though I turned 40 years of age this year, but still very much the baby of the family. I would have grown up, I suppose, in a very traditional household of music through Comhaltas Ceoltóirí Éireann, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, is the main organization here in Ireland, and now it's all over the world. So I grew up going to the Comhaltas classes with my local branch of Comhaltas here. It's called Castletown Gagan, which is just about 10 minutes down the road here from where I live. I suppose very much following in my brothers and sisters' footsteps. As being the youngest, they would have started playing. I would have heard them playing in the household, and my mum and dad, and still are, very encouraging towards us with our music.
Did they play music as well?
No, my mum and dad don't actually play, but they always have an interest in it. My mum's side of the family would actually be all quite good singers, and my dad, my home place where my dad and mum live, would have been down the road from a very musical household called the Gannon family. So years ago, I suppose back in the 50s, 60s and 70s, there would have been sessions going on in that house. Definitely weekly, maybe sometimes a few nights a week. And my dad would have went down to that house and, enjoyed the sessions. And I suppose always had the interest, even though he didn't take up an instrument himself, but always very encouraging towards us. So that's how I started, really following my brothers and sisters and wanting to be like them. And then I suppose as things went on, I obviously developed my own sort of repertoire and style then as I grew up into a teenager and into my 20s, 30s and now 40s.
Did you? I guess you started on the whistle, or Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
started on the whistle. Like I would have played the whistle for a long time without even attempting the flute.
Okay.
Um, I would have been really known as a whistle player as I grew up. But I thankfully now I think I'm known as both a whistle and a flute player. And I still love the whistle. I still absolutely love the whistle, but I also love the flute now as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I started off playing the whistle for a number of years. I probably tried the flute first of all. I think I was around 11, 12. My sister actually plays the flute as well. So my sister Siobhan would be a whistle and flute player as well. So I think I actually started off playing Siobhan's actually instruments. She was kind enough to loan me her instrument before I got, I suppose, a few pennies together to buy my own one. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that was the kind of start of it.
Can you remember when you first picked up the flute? What did you think?
Um, I mean, I always liked the sound of it. I always felt I always loved that kind of a nice mellow, deep sound with the flute, and I was always amazed at my sister. The tone she could get out of it, and I thought, how is she doing that? And she was kind enough, I suppose, to give me a few tips. I did have a teacher, obviously, as well, and the teacher we had actually, her name was Ailish Egan. She comes from a place called Tullamore in County Offaly, but she's a multi-instrumentalist, so she plays every single instrument, and we were amazed by that, how she could play every single instrument and be so good at them all. But Siobhan was very good, my sister as well, just giving me the tips. But yeah, I won't lie, I found it hard at the start. Definitely, it takes persistence and determination, but you must persist with it because the journey can be great if you do persist with it.
Absolutely, I kind of have to agree to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is there any other people who influenced your flute playing?
Yeah, I suppose as I got older, well, I suppose I'll tell you a story. Like, to be honest with you, I started the flute when I was 11 or 12, and I did keep it going for a couple of years, but I will openly admit that I kind of went away from the flute for a little while too, and kind of came back to it. And
Okay.
I don't regret going back to it because I absolutely adore it and love it. I suppose, like everybody as a teenager, I was, doing my education, and I started in college, and, things in life, I suppose, happen too. But I always kind of had the urge to really, I suppose, well, maybe I suppose I wouldn't like to maybe master the instrument, but just kind of get more comfortable with it. So that's when I started back into it a lot more in my early 20s and start bringing along to sessions. And I think that's a big thing too, actually having the confidence to take out the flute more and start playing at sessions and not just leave it, playing the whistle and taking the easy option of playing the whistle maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I would have been influenced a lot by. Yeah, I really like the likes of Kevin Crawford. Obviously, Matt Malloy. Everybody looks up to Matt Malloy.
Yeah.
He's the king, isn't he? He's the king.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, very very much influenced as I got older by kind of those rhythmic players, the likes of Harry Bradley as well. I absolutely love Harry Bradley's playing. Um, Catherine McAvoy, those sort of really rhythmic players that uh, place emphasis on the rhythm. Um, my own style of flute playing, I think, has a good rhythm to it, and although people have kind of described my playing as unhurried and maybe a little bit relaxed sometimes as well,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's okay, I suppose. But yeah, I would be influenced by other types of instruments as well. I mean, in my own area here, we would have grown up a lot with accordion players, so I would have listened to a good few accordion players and fiddle players too, and I suppose try and develop that into a little bit into my flute playing as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. And you also write tunes. You're a composer as well.
Mm.
How did that start?
Um, I suppose it started from just looking at tunes and maybe adding in variations. I've always been I'm always kind of being engaged by the creative side of music and maybe not playing a tune the same way every time. I always like adding in little things, and I think I composed my first tune when I was maybe, I'm trying to think back, probably 17, 18, something like that. Um, and I was just kind of starting to really, really get into music, I suppose, more seriously at that time. I would have been starting in college, and meeting up with other musicians. A lot of my tunes I find are kind of inspired by the countryside, so I get a lot of inspiration just from taking little walks and maybe being on a holiday or something like that. Yeah, a lot of the time they seem to be inspired by countryside and nature, and um,
Yeah, yeah,
like I do go through phases of composing. I mightn't compose for a long time, and then I kind of come back to it. So
yeah,
it
yeah,
just it
yeah,
just kind of went sort of organically. Then after that,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Very good. Would you like to play us a set of tunes?
yeah, sure, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, good.
I'd be delighted to. So um, I'm going to start off with a set of slides. So slides, I suppose, would be tunes that are more associated with the likes of Kerry and Cork and Limerick, but we can play them too here in County Westmeath, and we'll give them a go. Um, these are a set of slides from my album I released 6 years ago now, called Raining Notes. And there's 3 slides. The first one is my own composition called The Smell of Freshly Cut Grass. Um, and yeah, I always love that smell of grass when you get into the springtime. The second one is an old traditional slide that I think I got from the playing of Harry Bradley, called Kelleher's. And sure, I'll add on one more as well, which is another of my compositions called the Derivara slide. Derivara Lake, Loch Derivara is a very famous lake in County Westmeath. So we
uh, so we in our session we just discovered sort of slides. We never played a lot of slides, but lately we've sort of introduced a few sets of slides, which is
Cool.
are quite
Yeah.
lovely,
Yeah.
lively, and yeah,
They're lovely, lively tunes. They really
yes,
are.
yeah,
Polka's obviously the same as well. So
yeah,
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 I
yeah.
I suppose I define maybe a little bit in Ireland. Maybe there could be too much of an emphasis on the jigs and the reels. I think it's lovely to get the other types too. You know, the polkas and the slides and the hornpipes and barn dances. All these lovely rhythms that we have. So
Yeah, yeah,
they're very fun to play. Very fun to play.
yeah, yeah. I love it. And people always, brightens up the room straight away
It
if you
really
play the
does.
polkas and slides. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What flute did you play?
So that time I was playing Michael Grinter, my Michael Grinter flute.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously anybody that has a Grinter flute is very lucky because
Absolutely, yeah.
unfortunately we lost Michael. Yeah, I suppose before 5 years ago now, wasn't it? So
Mhm.
I actually only received this flute about a year before Michael passed away. So I'm so lucky to have it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Just instantly when I got the flute, yeah, it's just so easy to play. That lovely, rich, dark tone, especially on the low Ds.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's the Grinter flute. My other main flute that I play would be a Martin Doyle flute. So
Okay.
that's it there. Martin Doyle. That's kind of my go-to flute. A lot of the time when I'm teaching and stuff as well. So that was kind of I have the Martin Doyle flute now, I think maybe over 20 years now. So
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
So and they're both keyless, are they?
they're both keyless.
Yeah.
So I don't play with keys myself, and it's not as if I have kind of anything against keys. It's probably from the fact that I played the whistle for so long, I think, and um, I suppose you can play a lot of tunes without keys too. You know,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
not that I have anything against keys or anything like that, but um, and I've built up a good collection now of flutes. I can maybe talk about some of the others I have too, but I built up quite a collection now that maybe I suppose maybe I don't need the keys. So that's not saying that of course keys are very important to some people as well to get that range maybe of different styles of tunes
Mhm.
and that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Well, I
for
think
me, no,
it's a personal thing, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And if you choose to play tunes, say for a concert or a CD, how do you choose if you're going to play it on a whistle or on the flute?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. I suppose it might have to it could be to do with the style of the tune. Maybe the more mellower tone of the flute might suit a certain
Mhm.
tune. The whistle is obviously that little bit more higher pitched. I know you can go down into your C's and your B flat and B's. I definitely used a range of my whistles and flutes on my last album because yeah, I played a lot of different ones and
Mhm.
maybe
Mhm.
some people mightn't have been overly, I suppose maybe for those that want to play along with the tunes, maybe yeah, it wasn't that maybe adaptable.
Yeah, yeah, but that's not what an album's for, unless you make like a play along album. But
Um, I think my
yeah,
first two albums were probably a lot more accessible to play along with. But
right.
with the third album, the Raining Notes one, I kind of wanted to use the full range and just really
Mhm.
test it out.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so we have so many beautiful melodies in
Mhm.
traditional Irish music that
Mhm.
you can be so creative and really really just play around with it. So yeah, it just
Yeah,
depends on
yeah.
it depends on the melody, depends on the tune, the feel of it,
Mhm.
maybe how you're
Mhm.
feeling that particular day. You just want to
Yeah,
try something
yeah,
just that little bit different. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And some tunes just sit better on certain um pitches.
certain keys
I
and that.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah, certain keys. Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
yeah. You recorded 3 CDs, if I'm right.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So three CDs. Yeah, like I suppose recorded pretty well. That's three CDs. I think in around 8 years. So probably it's probably a lot by most people's standards. I suppose I had a lot of tunes ready and
Mhm.
just felt the urge to record. And the first one was um, back in 2010. So at that stage in 2010, I mean, I was playing the flute, but not as much as I am now. So the first CD was really a whistle album. You
Yeah.
know, it was a whistle album, like the Winding Clock, and yeah, no, it went very well. Like, and it was very well received, and I always have such a memory of the night that I launched the album here at home, and yeah, it was so great just to have friends and family there, and just playing tunes that I played, I suppose, all my life, and yeah, adding in a few of my own tunes as well was lovely, and just yeah, it was great. So that's always a memory that I have of that first album. And after that, then I was a secondary school teacher at that time, so I was teaching English and the Irish language in secondary school. But I always kind of had the urge to further develop music and possibly as a full-time career. So I actually went to the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance in Limerick. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the late Micheál O'Sullivan, who set up that, and was one of the instigators behind it. So I'd heard great reports about a course there, a master's in traditional Irish music performance. So I was delighted to be accepted on the course, and I spent a year there in Limerick and met a lot of brilliant musicians on the course with me, and we still keep in touch to this day. Um, and I suppose I would have got a lot of new repertoire from that course. And then I got the urge to go into the recording studio again and bring out my second album. So that was in 2013. So I called it Síochána na Tua, Piece of the Countryside, obviously very much based around living in the countryside here. And I was developing my flute playing a lot more then as well. So it mightn't have been half and half, whistle and flute. It was still probably more directed towards the whistle, but this time I brought in more flute tracks into it as well. And then as the years went on, there was a 5-year gap then to my third album, and I was playing a lot more flute. And yeah, the third album, I think, the third album does have more flute tracks than whistle. So that's kind
I
of
haven't
my.
counted.
I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure it does, but yeah, I was playing a lot more flute and teaching a lot more flute and get involved in gigs and playing at different things with a couple of groups and projects, and yeah, starting playing like at a couple of little weddings and side gigs and different things like that, and just playing it a lot more. So I really wanted to explore then my flute playing in the third album. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been, I suppose, my recording journey so far.
Any
Yeah.
new recordings planned?
Not at the moment, to be honest with you. I don't think so. I don't see myself recording a solo album for a good while. I think I brought out 3 in 8 years, so I mean I have
That's
plenty of
quite a
stuff
lot.
I could record again, but
Yeah.
yeah, I suppose I'm just concentrating on a few other things in my life at the moment, and the recording can wait. Even though I would love to get into the recording studio again, but let's see what happens. Maybe
Yeah.
it's time for me to if I did record again, I'd probably be to do some sort of maybe duet or trio or some sort of a ensemble type thing, rather than concentrate more on the solo stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'd like to talk to you a bit more about your compositions. How do you start writing a tune? Does it come to you when you're out in nature and it's sort of there, or do you sit down and write it, or?
Yeah, again, very good question, and I think everybody is quite personal with their answer of composing, and I think everybody is different. Me personally, yeah, I would be inspired by nature. That's not to say I'd be inspired by all of my tunes. They're not all to do with nature either, but yeah, you get a little. It can happen at any time. I mean, you can be sitting on the train or sitting in traffic, driving the car, and yes, obviously, I will stop the car to get the melody into my head. Don't think now I'm having the whistle or something like this on the steering wheel. No, that's not going to happen. But yeah, you get a little sort of you'll get some sort of a little phrase, and I wouldn't be someone who actually notates the tune. I would probably hum it or something into a recording device. Obviously, the phone. People have the phone by their side. So that's how it kind of starts for me. Obviously, if it happens to me at home, yeah, I have all my instruments there at hand and I start playing it. But sometimes it can happen out in the walk. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is very important for me to get that little phrase or whatever I have in my head and just hum it or do something with it into the phone or the recording
Yeah,
device so it's
yeah,
not lost.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I do. I always have my phone near, and
yeah.
if I get an idea, I just have to whistle it or hum it into the phone, and yeah,
Mm.
my folk will laugh at me for doing that, but it's how it works.
I listen. I'm the same.
Yeah,
People have
yeah.
my family and my friends and my fiance here, Amanda. Like they probably do laugh at me a bit. I'm here's Enda humming again or doing something
Yeah.
in. But
Yeah,
we're musicians. That's what we do, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what do you play is another set of tunes?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Maybe I'll move over to the Martin Doyle flute this time, just to maybe just to compare and contrast it. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
What'll I go for this time? I'll go for a set of reels this time. So this is a set of reels from the last album. It is, yeah. So I actually recorded this set of reels with a great friend of mine called John Byrne. He's a superb guitar and banjo player, and yeah, we had been playing this set of tunes for a number of years. They're fairly well known reels: Devaney's Goat and The Hunter's House. Devaney's Goat is an old traditional tune. The Hunter's House, composed by Ed Reevy, great composer from Cavan. I think spent a lot of time in the States as well. So let's give these two a go on the
Okay.
Martin
Yeah.
Doyle.
Cool. Lovely.
Oh,
Very good. It's very
thanks.
you. It is very laid back. Your style, I think. Yeah, it's nice. It's not too rushed and fast.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I suppose like people would describe my whistle and flute playing as kind of relaxed, but I suppose there's a time and place. Sometimes you can kind of, how would I describe it? Let it maybe rip a bit more too. So
Yeah, yeah.
don't think that I play, I suppose, at that style all the time. I mean, I definitely, if I'm engaging with other musicians in a session or something, I can definitely, let rip too. So,
Yeah, yeah.
generally, yeah, maybe my solo playing would be a little bit more
Yeah,
relaxed. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think Jim might have a
Jim,
question.
yeah.
Hello, excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes, we
I
can,
can. Yeah.
yes.
Hello, thank you so much for this meeting. First, I just have a question about your playing with your
Yes.
right hand, because I saw you play with your second section on your hand and not the bottom of your finger.
So with my right hand, is it? On my
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So I suppose, well, probably coming from my whistle playing, I would have started playing the whistle with my right hand on top. So then when I went over to the flute, um, I had to kind of balance it a little bit more different. So, yeah, I do tend to hold my little finger at the very bottom for that little extra bit of balance. Yeah, does that answer your question, Jim? Or
But my question is because can I just ask another question about that, please?
yeah, sure, yeah, yeah.
Sorry, because I'm French and difficult for me to you know. Because I have a particularity with my finger, my little finger is very short, more than
Okay.
other people, And when I just grab the flute like that, I can't put my little finger on the flute and have a very free roll tap, etc. on the bottom.
Hmm.
That's why sometimes I put on my shoulder and Middleland last time said it's not good. And I just want to know if you have any tips for me because when
Yeah,
I
yeah. Well, actually, I'll tell you sort of my younger days. Like I actually started off playing the flute on the shoulder as well. So this is me when I was 13, 14, 15 years of age. I was actually playing like this. And you can even see how just doesn't look good. Sure, it doesn't. And my I was having, I suppose, issues and with my neck muscles and things like that when I was playing at sessions, and I was just getting very frustrated with the whole thing. Um, Now, in saying that, like you have some very, very fine flute players out there that are playing on the shoulder. So everybody's flute journey is different, and it's what kind of you need to find a position that kind of is comfortable and suits you best. But I was telling Matty there when I went to the University of Limerick, I met with a number of fantastic players and tutors, and I think it was Kirsten Allstaff that gave me a little bit more tuition on the flute, and we actually agreed that I change my sort of stance. So rather than playing on the shoulder like that, so I'll just show you again. So I was playing on the shoulder like this, and my bottom hand position was kind of curved like that. So I decided to keep away from the shoulder. Now this took a lot of work. This took 4 or 5 months of hard, persistent effort at it. And then I decided to use the piper's grip on my bottom hand. Yeah. So that really worked for me, and I made a breakthrough then, and I suppose I haven't looked back since then. It's really been a major plus for me. Now I suppose everybody's physical shape is different as well. Maybe I'm a little bit lucky. My fingers are quite long, I think,
Yeah, they
and
look long, yeah. Yeah,
my
yeah.
sister actually, who plays the flute, has very long fingers as well. So I think it's a genetic thing in our family that we have long fingers. So you need to kind of find a position that suits you, Jim. So I'm not saying that you have to. I probably wouldn't be overly worried about not putting the little finger at the bottom, but maybe just work at trying something different with your bottom hand, maybe with your fingers, and see could it maybe make the difference for you. Now I'm not sure if that answers your question fully, but that's what I kind of was doing with my playing anyway.
Okay, well, what I understand it's try, and you will find your position.
Mm. Yeah, it's working it out because it's not an exact science. It's definitely not an exact science. As I said, like there are I think the great flute player, does Michael McGoldrick play on his
Yeah, he
shoulder, I
plays on
think?
his shoulder. Yes, he does.
Hasn't,
Yes.
hasn't done Michael McGoldrick any harm, has it?
Yes,
He's
it's not,
he's
not
it
the
does have he does have problems with his neck and shoulders, but
yes,
it's
yes,
not
yes, yes.
really
I
bad. So.
remember last time we talked with Margot about this position on the last meeting, I think.
So yeah, I was just there was too much tension in my flute playing when I was playing as a teenager. There was just too much tension, and it wasn't something that could continue. So um, I just made that breakthrough in a position now that I am so relaxed in, and I say this to my students on the whistle as well. I mean, if it's easier said than done, I know, but with persistence and determination, finding that relaxed position is well worth looking into, and it will really help your playing in the long run. So just keep at it, Jim, and persist with trying to find that position that suits you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you do teach a lot, do you? Or all the time? I don't know. How much do you teach?
Yeah, I'm at the moment I'm teaching part-time. For a number of years I would have been teaching music pretty much full-time. So I started off teaching. Ooh, let me see now. I'd say I'm probably teaching for over 20 years at this stage. So again, we learnt our music with Coltus Coltorier, and my own family then actually started teaching in our branch when our former teacher left and she was pursuing other things. So we were actually encouraged to start teaching, and we'd absolutely no training whatsoever. We were probably completely thrown in at the deep end. But as the years went on, I think I probably developed that with Irish word grow, I suppose, developed that love for teaching. And I do like engaging with people. I love working with people of all ages. Get a kick out of it. And it's as you start teaching more, you start really looking at your own playing a lot more as well, and what you're actually doing. And yeah, I did then start doing a couple of little courses and teaching, and I did a course with Coltus for teaching traditional Irish music. Would have learned a lot as well from that year I spent in Limerick. Even though it was performance based, I definitely learned a lot of skills to hopefully improve me as a teacher as well. So yeah, I love the teaching. And I said I've been doing it for over 20 years. I taught in primary schools there for about 10 years. So I was teaching the whistle to the young kids from around the ages of, let me see, from about 7, 8 up to around 12. So you need patience, but they always keep you entertained. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Still
So
very
teaching
cute.
teaching is a very big part of my musical journey for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So has it influenced your own playing as well, the teaching?
I think it has. I think it has. Like I think that maybe that unhurried, relaxed style maybe might come a little bit from my teaching background, because it's very important, I think, for someone playing the flute and the whistle as well, that you get the basics right. If you can get the basics right, it stands you well on your journey. And then obviously the older you get, you're probably developing and developing your style and repertoire a lot more. So my whistle and flute playing probably has changed a bit in the last 10 years from the way I used to play when I was younger. I think that's hopefully developed kind of organically as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't think teaching is for everybody either. I mean, someone can be maybe a very, very good musician and just mightn't have the patience just for the teaching. So it mightn't be for everybody. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
I'm lucky
yeah.
in the way that I do. Hopefully, well, I think I'm a patient person. I like to see people developing and getting on well, and you don't have to be the best musician in the world, but as long as you'll never regret playing music, that's for sure. And if you have those few tunes to play, you can, you bring your instrument all over the world and wherever you want to play, and maybe pass it on to your own children or friends as well. So,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. So
yeah.
do you do like flute workshops as well?
Yeah, I have done a few
Yeah.
flute workshops down through the years. a lot of my teaching would be with cultists, but yeah, I have been asked to do a few flute workshops here in Ireland, at some of the some summer schools. I taught at the Joe Mooney School there in Drumshanbo for a little while, and yeah, I have been asked like to a couple of, I suppose, the smaller weekend festivals and things like that, where you do your workshop during the day and maybe play at a concert then at night time. And yeah, I've done. I still do bits and pieces online as well. Most of my stuff is probably based in person now, but I do teach a little bit on Skype and Zoom a little bit as well, which is great.
Yeah.
You know, you can.
So if anybody wants to take lessons, Skype lessons with you, can they just contact you?
They can get in touch with me. Yeah, like I have my my Facebook music page there. They're more than welcome to get in touch with me, and we can work something out and try and see if our schedules will work. And I'd be more than willing to talk to people anyway. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. So if anybody who's here wants to take lessons, they know where to.
I mightn't have all the answers, but hopefully I'll have a few anyway.
Yeah. Very good. Would you play us another set of tunes? I think it's a good time for another set. Yeah.
Let's go for another set. So, what have I played so far? I've done a set of slides and a reel. So maybe I'll go for something maybe in the middle. Maybe a set of hornpipes.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Okay. So, I'll go back to the Michael Grinter flute. Right. So these are a set of hornpipes I originally recorded on the whistle, but I'm gonna move them over to the flute today. So the first one is an original composition that I called the Greenway. So where I live here in Streamstown Village, there's the old railway line from Mullingar to Athlone was actually turned into a tourist and a public amenity as a greenway, so people can now walk on it and cycle and run. And I'm big into the running as well, so I would be on it. Well, I wouldn't say daily, but definitely weekly, doing my training sessions. And yeah, I composed this little tune called the Greenway Hornpipe, and I'm going to follow it then with a composition of John Brady from County Offaly called Kieran's Wish. So let's give these two little hornpipes a go.
Yep.
we go.
Okay, that's nice.
Thanks very much.
Now, I would like to ask you a set of questions which we want to do with everybody who is a special guest in in the flute meets. Do you have any tips for absolute beginners? So somebody who's just picking up the flute, any tips?
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, try and not get too disheartened at the start, because it is a journey and it's going to take time, especially if you're coming from the whistle side as well, and persist with the journey, because getting the sound out of the flute can take time, and it's a particular thing, isn't it? And like, and everybody is different as well with their embouchure. So you really have to have that little bit of patience and persistence, because you know, again, don't think now that when I started off, was getting that sound straight away either. I mean, it really takes time, and you know, you have to go through that little bit of, well, I suppose, a little bit of pain. If you're not getting pain, I think, in your embouchure and things at the start, you know, you really have to focus in, because that's, at the end of the day, like, good embouchure is going to get that full tone as well. And so as a beginner, yeah, it is worthwhile if you can find a teacher in person as well. And I know that might not always be possible, and I suppose with the advent of technology now, like, people are doing their lessons online, which can be good. I mean, I said I'm giving a few lessons myself online. I'm giving a few lessons at the moment, actually, to a couple of young players from the north of Ireland. I know I've one guy from Derry, and he's just starting his flute journey, and just doesn't have maybe teachers nearby, and we're doing some stuff online. So definitely try and get a teacher either in person or online as early as you can, because it can be quite a lonely journey, I think, if you're trying to do it on your own as well all of the time. So look for people. I think, you know, in traditional Irish music, we're known as Irish people in general. I think they're known as quite kind-hearted and generous people, and that find your teacher and work with them and listen to them. But persist with it, because it does take that little bit of time, but it's worth persisting with.
Yeah. I had somebody in my workshop this summer, or no, in spring, and he was playing the low whistle, and he wanted to change to the flute, and he couldn't get a proper tone out of the flute at all. But he was having his flute up here. And he was trying to blow, and I just told him, you know, where to put his flute, and he got a tone out of it. But yeah, he didn't have a teacher at all. So yeah, I think it's really worth getting a teacher. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, like my teacher years ago was a lady called Ailish Egan. I think I mentioned her name there before, but Ailish actually got a job then with as a performer with Riverdance. So like, I was actually, and this is no fault of Ailish, because we were delighted that she got such a position with playing music with Riverdance. But I suppose in my early teens then, I had just been starting playing the flute, and then I was kind of left without a teacher for a while, and kind of felt a little bit lost maybe for a little while. But as I developed then, and I said, I kind of hit that nail on the head is when I went back to Limerick as well, and focused in on my performance side, and just kind of reached that breakthrough. And when you do, you just know when you reach that breakthrough. I think you just, how would I describe it? People describe getting that sort of vibration, I think, isn't it, throughout the instrument? You kind of know when you've reached that point, when you're getting that sort of a lovely vibration throughout it, and it just feels right. So the flute is it can be a temperamental instrument, I think, but it can be one of the best out there as well, if you're willing to put in the work.
Not as temperamental as the pipes, and they are top.
No, probably not. Probably not.
Yeah. So, and if people are sort of intermediate player, they've got a nice tone, they can play a few tunes, what tips would you give them to improve their playing?
I think, and again, I suppose this is me from my athletic and sporting thing as well. I think stamina and actually getting out there and playing, there's nothing like it, you know. So don't be afraid to get out there and people are great in sessions. I know you probably know this yourself. Like people are more than welcoming to for people to join their session. Yes, there might be some people out there with the egos, but we'll forget about those. Get out there and play as much as you can. And my flute playing has improved so much, I think, as well from engaging with other musicians. And just don't be afraid to. Music is so accessible now, isn't it? Like you can get it anywhere.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to get out there and ask people questions, but definitely play in sessions, and it doesn't even have to be a session. It could be anything. It could be a family event. It could be a party or a friends gathering or something. A dinner party. Someone wants to play a few tunes and you're starting on your flute journey, or you might say maybe you're the intermediate player that's playing for a while and just wants to develop a bit more. Workshops, doing your maybe there's online workshops now as well, isn't there? There's so much. It's so rare. It's so accessible. YouTube videos. There's so much out there.
But would you be somebody who teaches a lot of exercises as well, or don't you bother? Just
I would be a believer in kind of the warm up and maybe the cool down aspect as well. I think it's important just to get into that nice zone at the start rather than going straight into your tunes maybe. So it's no harm. It only takes a couple of minutes. It's no harm to do your little scale exercises. I'm a great believer in the low D exercise, where you're literally playing that low D all by itself and trying to develop it out. I really believe in that as well, because it's going to work on everything. Maybe if I just pick up the flute here, Kevin Crawford, I think used to talk about this a lot, and I got to spend a bit of time with Kevin Crawford when I was on that course in Limerick as well, and such a nice guy and just so full of life and character. But just giving, might seem like a very simple thing, playing your low D on its own, but you're focusing in on everything that's important about the flute. Obviously the embouchure, getting that nice rich bark and trying to develop a consistent tone as well. So you could use that as a warm-up, or you could possibly use it as a cool down exercise after playing your tunes. I always say to students that it's probably maybe a little bit better doing that exercise when you're a little bit tired after playing your tunes.
That's what I found. It sort of creates more stamina if you do it at the end.
More stamina.
Well.
And hopefully then you can start adding a few seconds on to your low D as time goes on. I think did they say an advanced player, is it around 18 to 20 seconds, maybe holding the note out, maybe on a good day?
Okay.
So, I was actually doing it during the week with a student of mine, and he's doing really well. And I think he was getting about 11 or 12 seconds. And I was like, that's really good. That's really good. If you keep adding a few seconds onto that, I think it's going to really help you. So I'm a great believer in the warm-ups and the cool-downs. And I suppose I would use the warm-ups and the cool-downs in my other hobby as a runner as well. So there we go.
Yeah. So, and if you're an advanced player, what would you have any tips for them?
Yeah, an advanced player, I think it's very important to try and develop your own maybe personal style, and don't be trying to copy someone. It's take little bits and pieces from where you want to take them. So don't be just. Obviously your style might be based a bit on possibly your teacher, but that's not to say that you have to take everything that your teacher says on board as well. So I always say this to some of my students, don't think that everything I say is sacrosanct. Don't be afraid to go along to a workshop with a visiting musician as well, because you might learn something from them that you mightn't learn from me. So yeah, don't be afraid to listen to different types of musicians. I listen to all types. Obviously I love the whistle and the flute players, but I listened a lot there as I got into my 20s. Like some Martin Hayes and people like that, and Tommy Peoples, Who else would I kind of listen to? Other players? Yeah, accordion players as well. Like as I said, there's quite a tradition of accordion players in this area. So don't be afraid to take little bits and pieces and chunks off different people, and hopefully then you're trying to develop your own style of flute playing, because it'd be very boring if we all sounded the same, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah. Very good. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that. Would you like to play a set of tunes where we can sort of all play along too?
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah.
So everybody will be muted, so we can't hear them. So
yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I know it'd be lovely. So maybe I was thinking maybe of a set of jigs, starting with we'll do a kind of a D and G. So maybe going from My Darling Asleep into Saddle the Pony. Would that be maybe okay with everybody? We'll give it a go.
I think I know them both. So
Hopefully my versions are. I think my versions are pretty much based around the common version anyway. So.
yeah, great. Yeah, super.
We'll keep it a kind of fairly relaxed and unhurried, will we, Matty? Or?
Yeah.
Cool. Twice over, 3 times over, what do you think?
Oh, 3 times.
3 times?
It always takes a bit to get into the tune when you haven't played it a long time. So
great. So we'll start with My Darling Asleep in D and into the Saddle of Pony in G. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sure. I'll do a little 1-2 at the start maybe, and people can join in then. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. So My Darling Asleep, Saddle of Pony. Okay. So 1, 2.
lovely.
Great.
Well,
Hope everybody enjoyed that and he was able to play along.
yeah, lovely, a relaxed pace.
Cool.
Well, we've come to the end of the official part of this Flutemeet. I'd like to thank you again for being there. It was lovely to chat to you. And
Yeah, it was great to chat as well, Matty. And
yeah,
I said, well done. On the page is so good on Facebook. It's been so enlightening,
well,
engaging with flute players.
as I always said, it's a real surprise that it got as big as this. I hope for like 100, 200 people in it, and it just kept growing. So yeah, it's absolutely cool.
Yeah,
I
suppose it just shows you the interest in the music, isn't it? Like, and it's amazing. Like, it always amazes me. Like, engaging with people all over the world. It's wonderful. So
yeah. And it's
onwards, onwards and upwards, isn't it? For the page.
So many good players. Yeah. There's still people joining, not as fast anymore, but yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Good.
Thanks so much.
Is there any people that want to ask any questions? Now is your chance. I don't think anybody has any questions.
Are we all gone shy?
Yes, yeah. Okay, well, I think it was all very clear. Maybe we can play another set of tunes to play along to before we call it a day.
Sure, yeah. Let's. I suppose it's always traditional to finish with the reels, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll play a set of reels, and I think you should know them. They'll be quite common around this area here. Father Kelly's reel and Rolling in the Ryegrass.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Rolling in the Ryegrass is actually one of the first reels that I learnt, and I still love it to this day. I think it's just a great little tune.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic tune. So Father Kelly's 3 times and Rolling in the Ryegrass maybe 4 times. Will we go for the 4?
Yeah, sure.
It's a single reel anyway, isn't it? So
yeah.
Yeah, so let's go for these. Okay, here we go. 1 and 2.
Okay, great.
That was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much for joining us today. I think a lot of people have left already. Any more questions from Jim or David or Alice? They're all very quiet.
So Maddie, the only question that we had on the video was from Jim.
Okay.
Other than that, we could potentially release the entire video if you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do. Yeah. Yeah.
If Jim, if you're still there, if you could let us know if it's okay to include your question on the video.
Yes, good.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Cool.
You can.
So,
Because I think a lot of people can go through this question about the position of the hand, etc. And when I talk with other flutists, they never confront the problem of maybe a particularity about hand, etc. You know, about differences. Sorry, I tried to set my word. Some people have a different physiognomy of the hand, etc. And I think the methods of the flute don't talk about that, you know. A lot of methods of flute don't talk about that because a lot of people have normal fingers, etc. But like myself, for example, I think there is other people who want to play the flute and they have this problem, etc. And they don't find anything on the internet, and it's very difficult to start because when we don't have teacher around us, you talked about a teacher, etc. And I think it's true because I have a teacher on the net, but it's not the same as if he was in front of me and he just showed me how can I position my hand, etc. You know.
Yeah.
And I think it will be very helpful for people, beginners, and maybe other players who have some tension in the hand, or maybe I think it will be fine. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good. Yeah. I mean, I haven't got very big hands, but I can't reach. Well, I can't put my finger down on the flute. It's very tense.
What type of flute are you playing, Maddie?
It's a Tom Abbey.
Oh yeah,
He's from Switzerland. So,
yeah. I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike McGoldrick is actually getting one next year. So
Great.
yeah. So he's the one that he said, go and check him out. So I'm really happy with it. It's lovely flute.
Brilliant.
Dark tone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I was looking into buying a better flute than I had, I sort of listened to different flute players, and the ones I liked, they all played Grinter. So so that was like, okay, what else is there? Because I mean, second-hand Grinters you couldn't afford that.
You can go for François Bobet. He's a maker who lives in Ireland, but he's French. And he make a lot of Delrin flute and wooden flute, etc. And I have someone of made from Delrin flute. And the sound is very good, and it's not very expensive.
Yeah, I actually know I know Vincenzo myself. I actually have one of Vincenzo's in the key of C in Delrin, and it's really nice. Yeah. Really nice guy as well. He's based in Galway City, and if you are based in Ireland or maybe on a visit to Galway or in Ireland, it's well worth visiting Vincenzo. He's a really nice guy and very welcoming. So go along to his workshop maybe and have a chat to him, and he's quite reasonable. Yeah, his prices are good and really good guy to deal with as well.
Damien Thompson make good flute too.
Yes, I've heard a lot of good things about Damien as well. Yeah, there's loads of good guys out there. So
yeah.
loads of them.
Yeah.
I just have a question, please, my friend. Just one last question after I will leave. It's about the cork, the cork of the flute. Here, if a day I want to change my cork, can I just replace it with Teflon?
I'm not sure. I think you would nearly be better off actually getting a replacement. Well, I know the cork on my Martin Doyle went there a few years ago, and I sent it back to Martin. I think you're probably worth actually replacing the cork itself. I think maybe rather than
Or
with the Teflon.
you can use cotton thread as well.
Mm.
Just
Yeah.
wind that round and put some cork grease on that, which should make
Yeah.
it tight as well. Yeah.
That could help too. Yeah, that's a good idea.
There's
Okay.
if you want to try and do it yourself, you can get cotton cork sheets from Amazon or somewhere or a music store, and you can try it yourself. You can find videos on that for recorder players, because they have corks as well. I mean, I can do my own corks, so and I because somebody sent me a video of a recorder guy doing it, so yeah.
I'm not so good with I'm not so good with the DIY now, I have to say.
Oh yeah, it takes me hours to do it, but yeah, but I want to do it really precise, and it always makes me nervous. But yeah, unfortunately on this one I never had to do it. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you so
Well,
much. Thank you.
any other questions? I don't think so. Then I wish you a very happy weekend, and really nice to chat.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Matty. It's been really engaging, really enjoyable. And Michael, again, thanks for the use of the Zoom.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
And onwards and upwards for the Irish Flute Players page.
Yeah. Well, we want to do more flute meets. Well, maybe a few a year. So it'd be nice to have a whole series with different flute players.
Just one question, please. Where do you will post the video about the teaching of posture?
Video about posture. I don't
Because
know.
about you said before about we talked. I think I understand you will post a video about the posture. Is true?
Oh, I think a recording of this video. I think, is it?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we just post the audio because.
Audio, yeah.
Yeah. So we don't post the whole video. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant.
Okay. Well, have a nice weekend, and
thanks so much, everybody.
yeah, see you around. Okay then. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.